Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you are all having a great day. To start things off, Bitfury's Lightning Peach team has just announced the implementation of the Lightning Network payments on the cryptocurrency exchange known as BTC BIT or Bitcoin Bit. This is the result of an ongoing collaboration between the two companies. Lightning Network, for those who don't know, is a second layer protocol utilizing a large network of open two-party channels to enable multiple payments without the need to record each one individually to the underlying Bitcoin blockchain. Fully regulated Poland exchange known as BTC BIT deals in Bitcoin, obviously, and most other major cryptocurrencies. The ability to now use Lightning Network payments brings the benefit of quicker and cheaper payments to its users. Bitfury's blog goes into detail on the method for selling your Bitcoin and withdrawing your funds using Lightning Network. Whilst the process is fairly straightforward, there would seem to be a slight anomaly in the thinking behind it. Without really going into too much detail, you have to actually obviously transfer your funds through the SEPA and the SWIFT system. So kind of the irony of all of this is that while they have integrated the Lightning Network to their platform, you still have to go through the old methods. It can take 1 to 3 working days, and it also talks about like sometimes with SWIFT it can take 3 to 5 working days. But yeah, says despite the friction of Fiat on and off ramps, the wider enabling of Lightning Network's payments is a sign of further progress for the still experimental enhancement. So any implementation on this scale should be applauded. Every single other day now, it's actually, I think the news is too close together for it to be kind of a mistake or to be haphazard or to be random. Everyone is betting on Lightning Network right now. I was listening to can you guess what? A podcast this morning. I went to go help a friend with something. As I was coming back home, I was listening to it on the train. And they were talking about the implementations of other layers onto Bitcoin and how they're going to take a very long time. The people who consider themselves to be Bitcoin maximalists or Bitcoin believers, whatever you kind of want to call them, the belief is that Bitcoin should be updated slowly. And it took me a couple of months to actually understand why people kept on saying this. It kind of comes down to the reasoning. If you want Bitcoin to be successful, you have to update it slowly, because any implementation onto the network could be something that could be damaging to the entirety of the Bitcoin infrastructure. If you have Bitcoin, which has been around for 10 years and not 20, 30, 40, 50 years like other things, and it has some type of a major hiccup, you update something or fork it that allows another entity to be able to create their own fork, or someone can maliciously create more coins. Anything that could potentially go wrong, you have to avoid. And this is why, according to them, and I mean, I understand it now. It took me a while to kind of get it, but people are talking about it in comparison to Ethereum. Ethereum has been trying to rush forward with all of these upgrades so quickly, nonstop. None of them are happening, or when they are implemented, they're not implemented the way that they thought they were going to be, what have you. So this seems to be the reason why Bitcoin is probably the main chain is probably never going to be touched. It's going to be kept pure. I know that sounds a bit insane for a cryptocurrency, but this is probably how it's going to continue to be. And this is why we are seeing the implementation of Lightning, and I guess to a very lesser degree, the Liquid network, which is not really for us. Both of these kind of taking off in their own way simply because these are one of the very few things that have been implemented on top of Bitcoin that are to help payments move faster, but to keep the main chain safe. I thought I'd explain that a little bit simply because there's something. I thought we were, I want to say, divided as a community in 2018. 2019 is going to be hyper accelerated. So I thought I'd give a bit of insight as to why people believe that Bitcoin should never be updated, why it is probably the main chain, the core chain is probably never ever going to be updated, but that other implementations as other layers are going to be put on top of it. Just thought I'd throw that out there because it took me a while to kind of figure it out myself. It pretty much comes down to Bitcoin is sound money. The network has lasted for 10 years without any problems. So if you leave that alone and just kind of build around it and on top of it, we have this secure form of money that can't be changed or messed with the same way that fiat currencies can. swinging back a little bit to the topic at hand, even though we were still talking about Bitcoin, but I was just explaining why we have the Lightning Network. We're slowly seeing this implementation of Lightning all over the place. I still think by the end of this year, we're going to see, and I am upping it a tiny bit, I think between a 10 to 15x of the amount of support that we're seeing right now for the Lightning Network. I think this is only going to accelerate as we go further into the year, because this is what we have been waiting for. I know the Lightning is still in beta testing, air quotes if you will. It's still an experiment. This seems to not have really caught on with a lot of other people, because Lightning Network is now the thing that everyone is kind of gunning for, if you will. I'm expecting to hear that there are other cryptocurrency exchanges who are also going to be implementing the Lightning Network. We need like a spark, something to really set it off. Lightning Network has been gaining traction, is the nicest way of saying it, over the last 2 or 3 months, simply because I believe there are people behind the scenes who are trying to push the Lightning Network and make it a lot stronger and quicker and more robust, because of the things that we have that are supposed to be launching either next month or at the beginning of March. But once we start hearing that Binance, maybe Coinbase, and maybe Kraken or something like that actually are allowing Lightning payments or have integrated the Lightning Network, I think that'll be the beginning of the good times for the Lightning Network and for Bitcoin. Because even if you're trading from multiple exchanges, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who's experienced this. If you're trying to take Bitcoin specifically off of cryptocurrency exchanges to put it onto a ledger, or however you decide to store your cryptocurrencies, sometimes the transactions can still take around 12, 13, 14, 15 minutes, even compared to if you're trying to like take off Ethereum, it may take 2 or 3 minutes. So when we have this hyper quick implementation of Lightning Network everywhere, and I don't think this is the last time that we're going to be talking about Lightning Network, the amount of nodes that are being put onto that network, the amount of payment channels every single week, it's constantly expanding rapidly. And I think we need that spark, as in like a major player, to announce that they are dealing with Lightning, or that they're going to be implementing Lightning. Not to say that BTC Bit isn't a major player, but you kind of get what I'm saying. You can have someone who has they make their own TVs and they call it like wishy-washy TV. I can't think of anything better. And they put like, a TV and like the thing walks, whatever you kind of want to say. People will pay attention to it. It'll be kind of cool. But the moment when you have like a name like Apple or Samsung or Windows doing something like that, this is when people kind of pay attention. Anyway, I'm done talking about walking and talking televisions. Let's move on. Some crypto politics have been going on. It says Binance and Kraken CEOs weighed in on the industry being best practices for storing cryptocurrency in the wake of Cryptopia getting hacked. The question remains, which means of storage has the least risk exposure? So as crypto continues to chug along, trying to get accepted around the world, we have a number of cryptocurrency exchanges that are constantly being hacked. I thought the first 4 times, I thought they were random. I don't think there's randomness to this anymore. I think it's happening on purpose. I can't tell you at all who's doing it. My suspicions lie in either people who are trying to get as much crypto as they can. They may just be simple hackers trying to get their money in the cryptocurrency space the easiest way they know how, as opposed to mining it. You can get 45,000 Bitcoin, throwing out a number out there, and a number of minutes, number of seconds, number of hours, what have you. But this is also causing a very big problem for the cryptocurrency space, because as we want to gain legitimacy, whether you think that we need that from the outside people in finance or not, even just within the cryptocurrency space, we cannot keep having these hacks. And the other side of that is either those hackers, or it's my opinion. I can't name any names. I don't know who. I think it's major players in the space, or who are trying to get into the space, who may be institutional investors. And I know it sounds a bit like a conspiracy theory, like you have to understand this is money. There aren't companies, like we have companies around the world who are willing to sabotage each other just so that they can get a contract with another company to be able to build a phone, to be able to give them a screen. It happens all the time. It happens on Amazon. It happens on eBay. People always try to sabotage each other. So I think it would be weird to not consider a possibility of major players who are trying to get into the game sabotaging other cryptocurrency exchanges, so that when they do enter the game, that they can be major players for themselves. Or just kind of leave it that way. So for Binance CEO, his name is Changpeng Zhao. He says users have three options. They are either self-storage, keep them on exchanges, or use decentralized exchanges. Yesterday, Changpeng Zhao commented on coin security in reaction to a hack of Cryptopia, weighing the pros and cons of the three options. Here's the actual tweet for it. The Binance CEO advised those looking to store on centralized exchanges to only use the most reputable ones, though Mt. Gox used to be the most reputable exchange in 2014, but it got hacked for over $500 million. In defense of what he had to say here, once again, this is Crypto Politico. Mt. Gox was like the only exchange that we had in 2014. I had a couple of friends who had money in Mt. Gox. No one realized that it meant Magic the Gathering online exchange. It was like everyone was new to Bitcoin. Everyone was new to cryptocurrencies. Everyone was looking for a place to get them. When you Googled it, Mt. Gox was the only thing that appeared. So we're not in the same situation 5 years ago where we only have one, maybe two exchanges. We have hundreds of them, and we kind of know who the major players are, and furthermore, we also know the ones who are regulated. The entire situation with Mt. Gox, for those who are unaware, there was a guy in Japan, if you read the books, if you read the stories, if you watch the documentaries, he pretty much had all of the Bitcoin that was for that exchange on one computer that was apparently in a small room. And this is why whenever he turned it on, it kept on getting hacked and what have you, so and so and so. So in his defense, I get what he's saying as far as using the most reputable ones. We spoke about this before, even when we had the proof of keys event. There are, crypto is a very odd, fantastical place at the moment. I told you guys not everyone was going to take part in proof of keys, and if you felt more comfortable, the easiest way of saying it was that to keep your cryptocurrencies on an exchange that you can trust, that you've seen that other people have trusted and can continue to trust, because not everything out there is kind of trustworthy. Despite later providing clarification, Changpeng Zhao's tweet seemed skewed to favor the use of third-party services such as Binance, especially decentralized platforms. He later even admitted that the statement should be considered as a promotion of the company's decentralized platform. However, hackers did manage to steal $12 million from Bancor, a supposed decentralized platform in 2018. Not going to defend this at all, but they're decentralized exchanges. There is no central entity. We've seen many other cryptocurrency platforms have 51% attacks. This is why I tell you, pay attention to where you put your money, especially when it comes to on decentralized exchanges. They are not as good as people think that they should be right now, and there's an immense amount of hacks. So I myself don't use decentralized exchanges because they're fairly ridiculously difficult to use right now. On the flip side, for Kraken CEO, his name is Jesse Powell. He says users shouldn't have more crypto than they need to, on exchanges shouldn't have more than they need to trade actively. Instead, cryptocurrency owners should, in his words, admittedly also use reputable hardware wallets such as Ledger and Trezor. Without reading any much further, this is Jesse Powell. It's very difficult because cryptocurrency, this isn't something easy. This is the first time that we are aware of in humanity that we have entered a situation where technology has allowed us to have control over our money in its entirety, and is so and so and so blah blah blah. And it's very difficult to figure out a solution to be able to house this money. While it is a nice idea to think that everyone will simply take their money off of a cryptocurrency exchange and house it themselves on their computer, on their ledger, on their so and so, under their couch, whatever the case might be, is not very realistic. We know that when venture capital firms and when institutional investors get into the cryptocurrency space, they're going to be using exchanges, or they're going to be using banks that have custody solutions, or they're going to be using the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange, because to be honest, nobody really wants not many people want to be in control of their own finances, especially when you end up getting to high 6 figures, 7-figure amounts. Like, there's probably not going to be many people out there, if the cryptocurrency market does at some point have a bull run, and let's say you end up making on a good year, let's say you end up making $2.5 million, you're probably not going to be too convinced to keep that on a device or on your laptop and simply put it into a closet. Just kind of how things are. But there's a lot of friction in the cryptocurrency space, because there are people who believe you should either leave it on a platform that is trusted, or either take it off yourself, or now the Kraken CEO is saying that you should probably don't put more than you. So his idea was that if you do have crypto on an exchange, don't put more than you're actively trying to trade at that moment. So if you're trying to make a couple of bucks and you throw it on there, that should be the only crypto that you have on it. Crypto politics are very weird. I can't even give a clear answer on this. Like it's you can't tell people not to have certain things on certain exchanges or to not have it in their bank, because we're not used to having to deal with our own money. And that's just kind of, we're going to be dealing with this for a very long time. Even when we get like majorly good decentralized exchanges, this is also going to be another topic of discussion, because there is no clear answer for this right now. People think that there already is an answer. You should just have a ledger, have it on your laptop, throw it into a room, put it into a bag, put it inside of a safe, and therefore it's okay. But then you kind of live in fear all the time of someone taking your stuff. Yeah, so this was major news, because people are trying to, and I don't think people should be taking sides at this point. I think there's a lot of room for disagreement and for people to kind of come together and share their own opinions. But the same way that if you are obsessed with Bitcoin, you probably don't like XRP. It's kind of one of those situations, and everyone's trying to figure out the right answer. So this is probably the most interesting thing that you're going to hear today. Bitfury, the blockchain company, has launched an open source music platform secured by the Bitcoin blockchain named Surround. The open source platform will encourage collaboration, foster fresh applications, and promote innovation within the industry, according to the Bitfury blog. The Surround business division will be based in Europe. Offices will be set up in Amsterdam and Berlin. Other business activities will be concentrated in Los Angeles, Tokyo, Seoul, and in Moscow. The platform aims to provide transparent management functions and trusted data by creating an interoperable digital ecosystem. The Surround platform will enable the entire music entertainment industry to streamline operations through a secure transfer of copyright assets, streamline connectivity, as well as better monitoring and management systems. Without reading an enormous amount, what's interesting here is that this is all being built on top of the Bitcoin blockchain. And for those who've been around for longer than a month, you know that Bitcoin is not the quickest blockchain that we have in the entire world. I just thought I'd touch on this, breeze over it, because I am interested to see how this platform is going to evolve. I know that music platforms are a very popular thing, but it's built on top of Bitcoin's blockchain, and I want to know exactly how that's going to really work out for them as they go forward. So should this come back up in another couple of months, I will probably touch on it again, because I am curious as to how well this platform is going to do, unless we get some type of news that they're going to be implementing Lightning or something else that will allow for quicker transactions. Yeah, let's move on. Next up, where is it? There we go. Right after the highly anticipated DX exchange was launched on the 7th of January, its co-founder and CEO, known as Daniel Stauronski, announced via Twitter that the exchange would be fully operational in about 1 or 2 weeks. He added that the exchange would go through a soft launch process that would ensure all trading pairs and deposits were fully functional with time. His exact words from the tweets can be found below. He says, "Please remember we are in a soft launch, not our pairs or deposits. Options are fully available. We will ramp up each day to get 100%, about 1 to 2 weeks. Thank you for to the community." 3 days after its launch, DX Exchange announced to the crypto and investor communities that they had successfully patched and shut down a security vulnerability that was discovered by one of their users. The online trader, who requested for anonymity, explained how he collected 100 JSON web tokens that would have resulted in the access of their corresponding user accounts. So, I mean, this is kind of making news all over the place. This was a very highly anticipated exchange. Apparently, they had a problem. They patched it up. Things are a bit better. I think someone complained. One of the users reached out to Ethereum World News with a complaint that his account had been blocked after making solid gains during the first few hours of the exchange going live. He was quick to point out that he had managed to make a 10 times profit, as can be seen from the following excerpt from the so-and-so. So, as always, this has to be reiterated. I'm not really sure why at this point. If there's a new exchange, don't dump all your money into it. Don't completely fall over yourselves into it. There was also a situation at the end. Where was it? No. It was I think the end of 2017. There were like 2 new exchanges that had opened up in South Korea, and they were so overloaded. I think one of them, like their price metrics had like broken down or something like that, and like, the price shot up all the way up, and it was like a really weird. It wasn't even like the air quotes kimchi premium. It was like another premium that ended up happening because people see a new exchange, they throw their money into it, and then they kind of get upset when things don't work how they expected them to work out. These are all brand new. Crypto still relatively brand new. Just because Bitcoin has been around for 10 years, don't assume that every other platform has also been around for 10 years. Give them some time. I saw people complaining about this. But yeah, let's move on. So Russia is in the news, and the entirety of the speculation around Russia right now is kind of insane. Once again, all speculation. I thought I noted that, and I'm pretty sure I did note that in the other video that I made where I was talking about Russia and them potentially buying Bitcoin. It even says it in the article. The person who said it works for the Kremlin or has ties to the Kremlin, and that they were... So the news, for those who didn't really catch that video, is that apparently there's something happening behind the scenes that we may or may not already know about, where Russia is apparently going to allocate an enormous amount of money into other assets simply because they're trying to get away from the US dollar. And every single time that Russia comes up in the news, there's always a couple of comments where people talking about that I'm lying, I have no idea what I'm talking about, that Russia... the main argument is that Russia would not tell everyday normal people that they're going to be getting into something unless they had already done so, or that the news is kind of fake news. But as the days have gone on, we get more and more news from Russia, and it's really weird because we never hear about Russia. But as the days, it hasn't even been weeks yet, continues to go on, we're hearing more news about Russia and their talk about the cryptocurrency market. It says the massive 2018 bear market is not a reason to bury crypto. This was said by Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev. He claimed this in a speech at the Gaidar Forum. Russian news agency known as TASS reported on Medvedev's comments on the 15th of January. Medvedev outlined the current crypto market situation as one of the main questions on the world community's agenda, along with other challenges such as the shift in traditional markets, a rise in protectionism and social inequalities, and the speed and scope of global digital transformation. Speaking at the annual International Scientific Conference on the Economy, Russia's prime minister and former president urged the public to closely observe the state of the crypto markets, pointing to the extraordinary volatility volumes in the past year. Medvedev argued that it is not a reason to bury cryptocurrencies, stressing that any social and economic phenomenon has both a bright side and a dark side. He said, but sure, it is not a reason to bury cryptocurrencies. There's both a bright side and a dark side, as well as any social phenomenon in an economic situation. We would monitor carefully so-and-so happening in the space. Exactly what was just over here. That's kind of weird that it was like taken for that. Anyway, earlier this week, the head of Russia's Committee on Financial Markets stated that the lower chamber of Russian parliament is planning to discuss a draft bill on crypto regulation in January or February. Once again, all speculation. I know people don't like when I talk about speculation. That's the entirety of the cryptocurrency market. Nothing that we have in the cryptocurrency markets is set in stone. Nothing. You can't name one thing that's set in stone because everything is constantly shifting. It's just a major topic of discussion right now because I believe that there are many countries around the world who are actively buying cryptocurrencies. We have a lot of venture capital firms who are buying it, a lot of hedge funds who are buying cryptocurrencies, a lot of universities in America, which are typically for profit, who we know are buying cryptocurrencies. We have major banks around the world who are talking about integrating XRP, and one can only assume that they're also buying BTC. So to think that there isn't any type of governmental connection at all, that governments are completely staying away, like think about it logically. Imagine everything that I just mentioned: the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ, venture capital firms, institutional investors, some of the richest families in the entire world. Like we know the Rockefellers are into cryptocurrencies. We know all these other things are happening around the world. Do you think for a second that every country around the world is just kind of like, well, that's kind of cool that they're buying digital money? No, they're probably also mining it themselves, and they're also probably trying to get into this market desperately as well as possible, because we already know that North Korea has an enormous amount of Bitcoin. And the theory is, should prices continue to go up on the cryptocurrency market, as many people are expecting them to do in the future, this would put North Korea themselves in a position where they would then be more economically powerful than many other countries around the world. Same exact thing with China. To think that China is not mining these things and collecting them and so for themselves is also a little foolish. So the idea to think that Russia and Venezuela and Iran and North Korea aren't in cryptocurrencies and also aren't trying to get Bitcoin is, I think, a little weird. Maybe the timing of the news may have been a bit odd. Maybe a lot of people just didn't care for the fact that someone who isn't the president or whatever the case might be said this information. Who knows? At the end of the day, I'm pretty sure they're all buying it up. There's no reason to believe that they're not doing it, but without spending another 3.5 hours talking about why I believe Russia is buying cryptocurrencies, which they probably are, let us move on. To kind of finish things off, we're going to talk about Augur for a tiny bit. Where is it? There we go. Augur, for those who don't know, is a prediction market protocol built on Ethereum's blockchain. In an effort to bring the network to the mainstream, a new platform called Veil has just been launched on mainnet, which is driving massive trading momentum for its REP token. Here's the actual tweet for Veil going live. They said, "We foresee a not-so-distant future where millions of people create and trade in millions of markets, and we're thrilled to finally launch Veil on mainnet and bring the future just a little closer." According to the Veil blog, the new peer-to-peer prediction market and derivatives platform has been built on top of Augur, 0x, and Ethereum. The platform is operated by Veil International Limited, a Cayman Islands company, but is not available to users in the United States, Cuba, Syria, North Korea, or any area with restrictive crypto trading laws. I always think it's very interesting that United States is always grouped in these things. It's very, very odd. Veil makes it easy to buy leverage positions on 3 trading pairs: BTC, USD, REP to USD, and 0x to USD. It also makes predictions on a wide range of scenarios, such as Academy Award winners, a lot easier. For those who have no idea what Augur is a platform that I believe was around in 2017. I'm pretty sure it was around 2017. It was expected to be one of the largest platforms in 2018, simply because the entire point of the platform is that you can bet on things. You can bet. Today's the 17th. Is it going to rain today? I'm going to bet with a bunch of other people, and you can bet on anything. The idea for the Augur platform was that not only could you bet on anything, but anyone could bet on things, because there are also slight prediction markets, if you kind of want to say that, in traditional finance, but they're heavily regulated. It's also regulated as far as like what you can bet on. Certain, it's very hyper regulated. Augur the market crash of 2018 destroyed a lot of projects. Not destroyed them, slowed them down a lot. When Augur first got launched, it was incredibly popular because people were going onto the platform and they were betting on, I can't say a lot of the stuff in this video, but like things happening to politicians. You kind of get where I'm going in that direction, and it became incredibly popular. But as prices went down, the Augur price obviously also went down. What was also interesting to note is that a lot of people, it was also on many major news platforms as well. It might have been on Forbes, don't quote me on that. It was on a lot of platforms because it was believed that instead of having to deal with traditional markets and their prediction markets, one could simply just use Augur, go into their platform, and be able to bet on anything. I bet you $500,000, and any other people who decide to bet on this bet, whatever, that the price of gold is going to go up by 15% before the next 4 weeks are up, and things like that, as opposed to having to do this on a regulated place. It also kind of tied into being able to put your money in, make money from it, and take your money out without anyone having to know. Kind of the other thing. Anyway, the point is, Augur was incredibly popular. People were noting, it was like May, June, July of last year, that the platform was faltering. Nobody wanted to use it. And then you kind of take a step back in 2019 and you realize it was because nobody was using anything. Everybody was cashing out of everything because the prices of everything were so low. This is why I also think when we get a lot of news about news stories talking about that dApps and all these other things aren't being used on these platforms. Yeah, it's like because everything is going down. Like, why would millions of people be rushing to use dApps and applications and stuff like that on these projects and on EOS and on Tron while prices are going down. These things only happen during hype cycles, and we have to have another hype cycle in order for these things to kind of explode and go up. Anyway, the point is they have a new thing called Veil. The price, I think even right now, because where is it? Because prices are going down a little tiny bit. You can see the little drop right here. I think it's only, I think Augur is up around like 18% or something like that right now because of this little dip and drop. Anyway, prices aren't doing too bad at the moment. Still trending relatively sideways. We had a little jump up about a day or two ago, even around right here. You see that nothing is going down too much. Still bit of a negative sentiment around Ethereum simply because we don't have the Constantinople upgrade that we were talking about that we should have had yesterday. Looking like we're going to get it sometime next week. A lot of analysts are predicting, and this is where I kind of get worried. Analysts are predicting that the affirmation of the completion of Constantinople on top of Ethereum will cause a jump in price. However, what we've seen before in the past is that whenever analysts talk about the prices are going to go up or something, they typically go down. A price movement up for Ethereum would have very good price consequences for the entirety of the cryptocurrency space. But it is still left to be seen. Let's hope that this actually ends up going off without a hitch next week. But as of right now, still trending sideways. We still need some type of very good news. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and listening. I do appreciate all of your support. Here we go. Yeah, it says 7% here, but I think they also have different metrics as far as like pricing and stuff like that, but still not doing too bad. Thank you all once again. And yeah, I'll talk to you all soon. See you.